Welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Nafisah Anif, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today I'm joined by Cindy Kinnon, the Executive Director for Community Living Guelph. Their mission is to support people with developmental disabilities to live their lives to the fullest, and their vision is to provide people with developmental disabilities their best life. Thank you so much for joining us today, Cindy. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little more about you and what inspired you to work at Community Living Guelph. Why work with individuals with disabilities?
Well, hello, everyone. So my name is Cindy Kinnon, as Nafisah has said. I have worked in the community throughout my career, and for the last 30 years, I've been an executive director. I've always worked for organizations that support people living independently in the community. And I believe in the independent living philosophy, so I've searched that out in different roles that I've had. I came to Community Living Guelph Wellington. I feel like I've come full circle because I was born and raised in Guelph, and I'm really happy that I can be serving my own community. I think the developmental services sector has come a long way. We've tried to break down barriers and done our best to find different models of service or different opportunities for people with developmental disabilities so they can live independently in their communities. The independent living philosophy has a couple of tenets to it, and the primary one, I think, is that people are able to make their own decisions, and sometimes that comes with risk. And as service providers or staff who work in this area, sometimes we want to protect people. So how do you balance that? And I think it comes with respecting people's choices and being able to support them along the way if there are going to be risks that they face when they make that choice.
Sometimes that can be a very tricky thing to try to balance. Definitely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it can. And I think the way we support staff through that dilemma of wanting to protect people or influence their decisions is to tell staff that our job is to help educate people. And so at Community Living, we believe in the 3 E's: educate, experience, and I'm actually blanking on the third one. Exposure. Excuse me, exposure. There
No
you
problem.
go. And so those are the 3 things that we keep in mind as we interact with people, whether it's, sitting down formally to review the annual service plan with someone to the day-to-day discussions about, so what do you want to do today? So exposure, experience, educate means that we help people understand what are options. We then expose them to those different options and allow them to have the experience. And then at the end of the day, it's their decision. So one of my favorite stories is about Mary. And Mary had always enjoyed vanilla ice cream. That was her, if you asked her, that was her favorite: vanilla ice cream, vanilla ice cream. And one day the staff said, "Did you know that there's different kinds of ice cream?" And Mary said, "There is." "Oh, I didn't realize that." "Oh, well, there's chocolate mint. Like, think of your favorite ice cream, right?" And so the staff said, "Would you like to try them?" "Sure." So the staff starts sharing with Mary the different types of ice cream. Then the staff said, "Did you know there's different places you can go to have ice cream?" So in Guelph, we have this wonderful place called the Boathouse. It's down along the river. There's the old Standby, the Dairy Queen. And so the staff person exposes Mary and helps her experience different kinds of ice cream, and different places to have ice cream. And then after all that, the staff might say to Mary, "So, Mary, what did you think? Do you want to? I saw that you always order chocolate caramel ice cream. Is that your new favorite? And I noticed that you really enjoy when we went to the boathouse." And at the end of the day, if Mary says, "You know what, Cindy, my favorite is still vanilla, and I still want to have it here in my house. I don't want to go out to those other places." Cindy, me as the staff person, has to say, "Okay, Mary, that's great," and move on. But I can't influence Mary to say, "Well, Mary, I think the boathouse is the best place, and we should always be going to the boathouse." It's not about what I think, it's about what Mary thinks. So I hope that helps to describe what we do.
Oh, for sure. And, just to have those options, just to be exposed to those different things, it can truly make the difference because you really do never know. Maybe they might choose something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just people with disabilities. I mean, all of us are like that, right? If we get exposed to a new hobby or a new interest, we want to learn more, and we want to try new things. But sometimes at the end of the day, we go, "Nope, that's not for me."
That's true. So while doing my research, I saw that you have a couple of services that you offer. Can you tell us a little more about those services?
Sure. So we offer three different types of service. The first one, which people would recognize the most, is group living. So across Guelph and Wellington County, we have 38 homes where people live. We like to create smaller homes, again, getting away from that institutional feel. So there could be anywhere from 2 to 5 people living in a home. The homes are all well integrated into communities. If you were looking down a street, you wouldn't be able to pick out which was the community living home. We try and do our best to integrate right into the community. Those services are offered 24/7. And so the people who are living there need that level of support. Whereas another another residential type service that we provide is called supported independent living, where people access their own housing. So they arrange for their own apartments, etc. And they only need a couple of hours of service a week. So the staff might help them 2 to 4 hours with a variety of things, planning, budgeting, shopping, whatever it is that they need. Another service that we provide is called community participation supports. And this really can emphasize that 3 E's approach to service, where we work with people to identify their interests and things they might like to explore. So it's the goal is to help people integrate into their community as much as they want to. I know some people worry that with that approach, that we will that people will be out there on their own, for example, or be forced to do activities that they don't really want to, and that's not the case. We really work with the people we support and their families to ensure that whatever activities they are participating in the community is what they want to participate in. And then the third option is it's called employment options. And this is a service where we help people to seek out employment. So we will do a variety of things, job readiness, resume, interview, that type of thing. But then we also do employer matching. And if they're selected, we will stick with them and help coach along the way so that they are successful in their new role.
Wonderful. And can you tell me what Campus Friends is all about?
Sure. Campus Friends is a great program/service that we provide, and it's in partnership with the University of Guelph. So for those who are interested or curious about university life, This is a service where we connect people with developmental disabilities with students at the University of Guelph. It's a 2-year program, and the mentors and the mentees meet up on a weekly basis and participate in various activities that are offered through the university. It's not just social and recreational activities that they participate in. It can also be going to class with the student and meeting with professors, asking professors certain questions, and participating as a student.
That sounds like such a wonderful program. Sounds like it benefits a lot of people who participate in community living events.
I've actually, I've interacted with the students, and they are really having such an amazing experience. We also, like I mentioned, it's a 2-year program, and at the end of 2 years, they graduate from the program, and we celebrate with them their growth, their experience, everything that has occurred over those last 2 years. And we set it up like a formal university graduation ceremony. We have officials from the university participate in the ceremony. They get caps and gowns, the same as any other university student would. And we really make sure that the university experience is wrapped up for them in that way.
That is wonderful to hear. So, are there any restrictions to the services at Community Living Guelph, such as age, disability type, caregivers, or family members? Anything of that nature?
To be eligible for our service, you have to be over the age of 18 and have a developmental disability. You also have to apply through the Developmental Services Ontario, which is the provincial access point into all developmental services in Ontario. So they would do an assessment and determine which services a person would be eligible for.
Okay, perfect. And without using any names, can you share a success story with me? What supports were put into place when someone asked for help?
That's a great question. And there are so many stories that I'm struggling to come up with one that won't identify anyone specifically. But we have stories. Again, I mentioned how we work with people to identify. I don't like to use the word goals because I don't want it to sound clinical in any way, but things they're interested in, let's put it that way. And I know we've got examples of a woman who wanted to be an actor, and so she pursued that with the support of staff, and she ended up participating in a craft commercial. We have other examples of where people wanted to learn new skills, so staff supported them in accessing things like an art program, a music program where they, the final concert at the end of the year, they were a full participant. People have had goals where they want to learn how to swim, so they join a swimming class that's out in the community. I can think of many examples of people just, living their life. And, as we say, living their life to the fullest. It really is our job to walk beside them and support them the best way we can so that they can live their best life.
And what would you say is the one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be happening? And how do we stop it?
Over and over. I think, as I said earlier, our sector has come a long way from an institutional model. We've broken down those barriers, but we still face, I don't know what word to use. I would say uncertainty, lack of understanding, and discrimination when people with disabilities interact with the general public in our community. We still see NIMBYism, and it's disappointing to see that. But I know we've got a lot of work to do to continue to educate the community the about our services, but also about the how people with developmental disabilities are contributing to their community.
And also what I've seen, which is very unfortunate from the broader community itself, there are definitely attitudinal barriers that are shaped by, dare I say, the visibility of someone's disability. So the more visible it is, the more supports seem to be offered.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, and if I could just speak to an emerging trend, perhaps, is that people with developmental disabilities are aging, and they're aging in place in our homes, which is exactly what we want them to do. But as they age, they are starting to experience different health factors related to aging. So we're seeing people with developmental disabilities now experience dementia or medical fragility. We're seeing a lot more mental health concerns as well. And because of the lack of understanding, perhaps in other sectors, our staff struggle to get the appropriate services that people require when their needs start to change like that.
Oh, well, I guess at the end of the day, all we can continue to do in general is trying to break down these just attitudinal barriers.
Exactly, and I think I agree with your point. That's a good way to phrase it. Attitudinal barriers are probably the biggest challenge.
I would say so, because after if there aren't any attitudinal barriers, there are not likely to be many, if any, systemic barriers, because attitudes are pretty much what create these systems in the first place.
Yep, I agree.
Hopefully, hopefully within the future, these attitudinal barriers can definitely be smashed. Are there any events coming up for Community Living Guelph?
We don't have anything solidified just yet. Last year, we did participate in the Guelph Multicultural Festival. We were at the Fergus Fall Fair and the Erin Fall Fair. So we look forward to participating in events like that. And speaking of attitudinal barriers, the reason we're there is to educate the community, to have those one-on-one conversations with people, to help them understand the needs of people with developmental disabilities, but also the services that we're providing at Community Living, and how people can live in the community, they can live safely, they can be active participants and really communicate to their community.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. If someone wanted to become a member or a volunteer with Community Living Guelph, what's the process for joining as a member or a volunteer? I know you touched on this a little bit earlier.
Yes, so they would just reach out to our office. If they go on our website, and I'd like to put in a plug, we have a new website, so I encourage people to go and have a look. There will be information there that can help direct them to the appropriate person to get more information. And our volunteers are skills-based volunteers. But what I mean by that, I'll go back to the service that we provide, and the focus is about the 3 E's: educate, exposure, experience. And we do that with our volunteers as well. So we encourage volunteers to identify what are their interests and how could we incorporate that interest into an activity for the people we support or an interaction, for example. So I'll just speak about myself. I enjoy quilting and fiber art. So, someone like me could approach us and say, "This is my interest." And we would go, "That's awesome." So we would reach out to people we support and say, "Is anybody interested in learning how to sew, learning how to quilt? Are you interested in fiber art? You want to create wall hangings, et cetera, et cetera." And we would see if there's any interest within the people that we're supporting. And then we would set up time for the volunteer then to interact with the people we support who are interested in that.
Oh wow, that's an amazing model. That's perfect. What would you say is the one thing that everyone needs to know about community living Guelph?
I think what I'd like people to know is our philosophy, because talking about attitudinal barriers, I think when people understand our philosophy, I think that goes a long way in helping people understand why we exist and what we're trying to accomplish. It builds on the respect for people with disabilities, and that they are safe and that they are leading healthy, active lives. So I think understanding the independent living philosophy will go a
And
long way.
if listeners are looking for more information, how can they reach out to you?
I would suggest that they go to our new website, which is at clgw.ca.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, Cindy, we are out of time. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in today and for sharing all of your wisdom. It was lovely speaking with you.
Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed our conversation
Great.
today.
Wonderful. Well, friends, this concludes another Community Partners interview. I'm your host, Nafisah Anif. Let's care, let's share, because we've all been there. Signing off until next time.